And I'm going to say one more and then get to a couple sleep paralysis stories. And I'll probably get into this a bit more in future episodes, talking about deliverance, like deliverance ministry. And so using the last story as a segue into this. So I was working at a church at the time, and we had adopted this deliverance ministry style someone had come up with. And so there's a whole kind of process to this thing. But what was fascinating, and again, what struck me theologically was some of the stuff that I end up seeing during these deliverance sessions. That as we're talking about demons, talking about the demonic realm, talking about unclean spirits, talking about just that whole thing, talking about possession, oppression. It saw some stuff that just popped a theological bubble because I didn't think things that I would see could happen, but they happened. And so here's one. So during this one session, we were praying with a pastor, and this pastor, all of a sudden, like during the prayer, like we're asking him questions, and again, we're going through our process. I'm not going to get into what the process was here, but and then all of a sudden, like the person, their countenance changed. His voice didn't change, but you could tell something switched in his face. And so we're talking with him still, but it's not him speaking anymore, which was super weird because it was his voice, sounded like him, but his eyes were closed, face looked weird, but it wasn't him responding because afterwards he didn't remember the conversation. That's how he knew. But in the conversation, we were talking, and this demon, this demonic entity, was speaking from within the pastor, and he said this statement. He was like, he needs me to do his work. Like, in other words, I help the pastor. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, what the crap is this? Like, where's the verse that explains this one? This demonic spirit, whatever you want to call him right now, speaking through a pastor, telling us that the pastor needed him for him to be successful at his ministry. Just crazy, like nuts. Like that theologically, I would just like, was not prepared for that. And then another story, and then we'll get to sleep paralysis, and then we'll wrap up the episode. We were doing a deliverance on an elder, someone who was awesome guy, like loved Jesus, super prophetic, was a believer for years, an elder in the church. And we're going through the process again, and all of a sudden his face changed. And then he had this, all I could describe it as this mocking presence took over. And his face looked like it was just like, it was this mocking spirit began to engage with us. And eventually we got the spirit cast out, and the guy got delivered. But that face, like, I'll never forget how its countenance just changed. But the reason why I say these two stories is a pastor and an elder. Again, like, theologically, I didn't know what to do with this. Pastor and an elder had were I don't want to say possessed. I don't know. Possessed, oppressed, influenced, severely influenced by demonic presence, by demonic spirits. And it messed me up theologically. Like, this stuff, man, this stuff is real. And we'll get into this in future episodes, deliverance, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it definitely had an impact on my life and in my walk with God theologically.